How is your podcast going?
It's good. I mean, I was looking at that a little bit ago. I'm only 20 listens away from a new weekly high, which I've been getting 60, 70 a day. So
Nice, man.
so unless something catastrophic happens, I should be good, because Anchor records it every. I'm assuming it's like when I released my first episode was like a Wednesday night at 9 p.m. So I
Yeah.
assume that's just when it resets. So that's the way I track, Wednesday to Wednesday.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you seem like you've been doing pretty consistent. You've been pretty consistent on, speaking
Mhm.
with people. That's pretty cool, man. That's good. You know, I've been having a hard time setting things up and it actually working out. You know what I mean? Just schedules and
Yeah.
that's
Well, that's what happened to me today. Luckily, the and this is the fun part, is like I have PR representatives now emailing me like, I represent so and so, and I think he'd be great on your podcast. Can we schedule something?
that's cool.
And I'm like, that's good. And I don't have to go hunting for guests anymore. Now some just come to me.
Right.
Today, she's like, I hate to do this, but he's terribly sick. Can we reschedule? And I'm like, hey, if you let me know 4 hours in advance, that's better. I've had people cancel like 5 minutes after the recording's supposed to start.
Right. Yeah. And that sucks because then you ended up your whole afternoon's gone or shot or something, and ends up not working out. That sucks.
Yeah.
I've been kind of like playing around with the idea, what do I want to do with the show, and I've been doing some adventure videos and stuff. And I've been thinking about like, man, I want to kind of reach out like to people I know locally in the community and kind of just break their comfort zone and get out of their box a little bit and kind of discover what they're into, what they're passionate about, and work outwards from there. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. You know what I mean? But it's been fun. It's been a learning experience,
Yeah. No, it's you kind of just adapt and continue to change as needed, I think is the.
For sure, man.
Well, hey, I'm going to start recording, and I'll do a quick
Yeah.
intro in case this gets released, and then we'll just kick it from here. See
Yeah,
see
man.
if people
Sounds good,
join
man.
us.
Heck yeah. I love that.
All right, everybody. Welcome to an impromptu improvised Jeff Macolino podcast that will probably never see the light of day. But if it does, I'll probably call Jeff Macolino Podcast Happy Hour. And I'm already joined by one guest who was on, I believe, episode 49, Kenneth Statkin.
Swordfire X5 in the house.
Yeah. I was telling Kenneth before I hit record is that I had a guest who his reps emailed me 4 hours or so before he was supposed to come on the podcast, and I kind of had cleared my day. So I initially sent out a tweet saying, hey, who wants to hop on a Zoom call in a few hours? This way I can call it a productive day instead of alcoholism. So I've got my drink and I started the Zoom call.
Here we are.
Yeah, we'll see if people take the bait. I imagine they'll Twitter's a funny place.
If one person pops on and says hi, hey man, that's awesome. I'm certainly happy to be here, man. It's good to see you again. It's been a while, man. It's been a long while.
You were I'm trying to remember. I think you were on when I was in a real rough patch. I think you were on in like the December, November, in between Thanksgiving and New Year's. No one wants to record a podcast.
That's so interesting too, man, because that's like prime time for me,
That's what I thought. It's like most people have more flexible work hours. I mean, I guess not if you work retail, but people who work in an office, a lot of times it's kind of you can leave early kind of thing.
Right. Yeah,
also, the worst ratings that my podcast had by far, aside from the beginning, was the week from like December 27th to January 3rd. It was toilet.
That's
Nobody
so interesting.
Podcast.
It's so interesting how the statistics go up and down with it too. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really check mine too often. I'm just kind of record stuff and release it onto the channel. I think when you and I talked, we talked about. I think we got into astrology a little bit last time, but I can't remember if that was before or after my motorcycle wreck. I'm thinking it was before my wreck.
I think so, because you didn't mention it.
Yeah, I hit a deer on my motorcycle November 1st, and but ever since then, you know what I mean? I've just been kind of recovering and seeing where I want the show to go, kind of just recording random things, going on adventures, taking it easy pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's the again, we were saying this before I hit record. It's you just kind of see what works and keep trying to it's funny, when I started this, my thought was I'm going to talk to only comedians, just that was basically the only. I'm just going to talk to comedians. I'm going to do a lot of episodes where I just talk myself,
Right.
And I quickly found, I'm like, the topics, when I have people on to talk about aliens or God or ghosts, or that's when people interact with me the most. So I guess it's really interesting. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll kind of split the difference here and go both ways.
Right. Yeah, man. You could do a comedy and whatever. I don't even know how to define kind of that realm of topics, but I think you could tie comedy into all of that, dude. And I think you almost have to with a lot of those discussions, man, because they can get pretty crazy.
Yeah, and it helps. One thing I've noticed is it helps when I don't do as much research. And the reason being is I feel like if I'm too educated on a topic, then I'll come, I don't want it to be like, here's this guy,
biased a little bit.
I want it to be, here's this guy, and here's the average Joe, and I'm here.
Right.
So I'm asking questions that this guy might think this guy's an idiot, or he didn't do his research before inviting me on. But it's like, no, that's kind of the point.
Right.
Like,
yeah. You're there to kind of learn what, they have the spotlight. The guest has the spotlight, and that's kind of how I try to direct mine too. When I have guests on, it's like, okay, you have time to say whatever you want. And I'm a believe that that's the truth for that episode, sort of, you know what I mean? But
well, and I don't know about you, but with me, every podcast, and this is not alcohol related because this is whether or not I'm drinking. Believe it or not, I do record some completely sober, but I almost like black out. The whole conversation is gone almost instantly when I'm done with the podcast, which makes I usually, since New Year's, when people are happy to come on the podcast, I've been recording them 3-4 weeks ahead of time. And it makes it difficult because I try to record the intro only a day or two before I release the episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember talking to this person. I had a good time, but I couldn't tell you a single thing we talked about. So I have to go back and skip through the episode, be like, oh yeah, we talked about that. That's right.
Dude, it was a while back. I was listening to your show. I was driving home. It was when my girlfriend and I were, we were dating, but we weren't living together. And I was driving home late at night and I had your podcast on, and the intro to one of your shows, it was like an advertisement, I think, for like a bank or something. And I was listening to it. I think you were kind of venting in a way. I think it was a bank. It might've been something else. I don't remember, but I started cracking up, dude.
Internet company.
Yes.
I recorded a fake ad.
Yes, dude. I thought that was the funniest shit ever, man. Like, oh, I loved it.
Yeah, I need to. I've the funny thing is, a lot of the things like that, and I did an Urban Dictionary segment in probably a handful of episodes, and everyone liked it. And the last time I did it with the guest.
Yeah.
And they're popular, but it's like, yeah, but a lot of times if I don't think of it when I'm doing the episode, it's too late.
Right.
Yeah, I need to go back to more set. I do feel like there's more make it more like radio gimmicks where they've got, set things, set comedy in there that I don't have to do on the spot.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, I laugh at myself sometimes, but I'm not a comedian by any means. But when I'm recording, I think I don't know if it's good to laugh at yourself or not. I think it's important. You know what I mean? I don't know if, from a comedian standpoint, how do you approach comedy? Is it doing things you think other people will think is funny, or is it doing stuff that you think is funny and naturally other people find it humorous?
It's a fine line. I think typically I just try to do things I think are funny, and like if other people think it's funny, great. If not, oh well.
Right.
It's tough. It gets tough, and I stopped doing stand up for a bit to try to work on the writing technique, because it does become tempting just to constantly make yourself the butt of every single joke. And while I don't mind that, I don't embarrass easily. Like I was honestly earlier today, I was filling out an application for some survival show, and I'm like, oh, I'd just be terrible on there. It'd be hilarious. And it said, "What's your most embarrassing moment?" And I'm like, I tell my most embarrassing moments on stage. I turn it into a win.
Right, dude. Dude, if you were to ask me my most embarrassing moment, I would have to say it was this time I was at an age where I was still kind of learning the world. So I was homeschooled from the 3rd grade until graduation. And sometime around the age of 12, 13 years old, I really fell in love with the band Van Halen. And I mean, like hardcore. I started collecting their albums. And so I would call the local radio station on a daily basis and ask them, "Hey, can you play some Van Halen? Can you play some Van Halen?" I became a legend down there. They knew me. Well, I was on my way home the one night from karate. I'm in the back of my mom's station wagon. She's driving, and I got my buddy next to me. He was in karate class with me. I called in the radio station. I said, "Yeah, hey, can you play some Van Halen?" And they said, "Yeah, we got some coming up, hot for teacher. Who are you hot for?" And I said, "Well, I guess my mom, since I'm homeschooled." Because I didn't know what it meant. And they played that shit on the air, dude. And, it was extremely embarrassing when I found out what the song was actually about, but that was 100% probably my most embarrassing moment,
that is a solid contender for.
Oh man. So that will stick with me forever. But I can handle it. You know what I mean? I can handle embarrassing myself saying that story because it's funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the bottom line, I think.
Yeah, I was I think I ended up saying mine was when I'm petrified of frogs. Don't ask me why. I had a frog. This was early quarantine days. I'd given myself a haircut.
Yeah.
I was in the shower and turn off the shower, and I see something with the drain not looking right. Fucking frog literally crawled up through the shower drain.
Dude.
So I have my kids. I'm naked in the shower with a frog. The floor in my bathroom super slippery when it's wet.
Yeah.
I decide I was going to try to spray it with some bathroom shit, because I knew that frogs like absorb moisture through their skin.
Right.
I was basically trying to murder it painfully.
Right.
So I start spraying this shit, and the frog like was aggressively hopping towards me. Like you'd think it would try to get as far away. No, it was coming at me. So I'm spraying all this shit, and I throw the bottle, and it just liquid everywhere. Then the frog jumps at me again, and I turn to move, and I bust my ass.
Oh my!
My shin actually still has a scar on it from this is 2 years ago. And busted my shin. I luckily I threw a towel on, so I'm like crawling on the ground. This frog has left my bathroom and is in my bedroom, and I can't lose sight of it because I'll just set the house on fire. I'm not sleeping with this thing alive in my house. And one of my kids had brought me a broom, so I hit the frog with a broom. Didn't kill it, but slowed it down.
Yeah.
I get one of those big stadium cups and put it over the top of it. A minute later, the cup starts wobbling and moving because this frog is. God. So I put like some heavy books on top of the cup, and you can hear the frog just bouncing inside the cup. And I'm like, both of my kids, I'm like, I'll pay you $20 to get this frog out. You have to get it from my room, walk down the hallway, down the stairs, and to the back door. So it's not like not like just a quick lift and throw. Like you have to lift this thing and carry it, make sure it doesn't escape. Neither of my kids would bite. I had to call my older sister, I'm 6'2", like 270, and she is like 5'3", $105.
Yeah.
She had to come and scoop the frog up and throw it in my backyard.
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. I'm surprised your kids didn't jump right on that, man. Kids are usually, all about, bugs and
mine are worthless.
Yeah. That's too funny, man.
I used to tell them, I'll protect you from anything except for frogs. That's your job.
So frogs are like your number one, like feared, I guess, I don't know, species.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really the only one.
Really?
I mean, not that I'd want to like encounter a lion or an alligator in my backyard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've killed. I was at a friend's house, spider this big on the ceiling, and he's like, "Don't go in there."
Oh man, see, that would freak me
out.
I
got a shoe, man. Like I'm good. I got a shoe. He's like, dude, it's probably poisonous. I'm like, well, I wasn't gonna plan on having it bite me. I was gonna hit it with my shoe.
Right. Oh man, not me, man. Well, I'll tell you what. I have a serious fear of spiders, arachnophobia, and it's because I watched the movie Arachnophobia. My brother showed me that movie when I was about 6 years old, and it was crazy. And ever since then, I've had like a fear of spiders, but as I get older, I'm like learning to control that fear. It's the wolf spiders though, man. As a kid up here in Pennsylvania, we got these freaking wolf spiders, dude, and they're the size of a $50, and those things just climbing on the walls, I don't like it, man. It freaks me out.
No, well, that's every time I say, because I tell people like, I'm afraid of frogs. Like, you pussy. I'm like, oh yeah, what do you think of spiders? And if it's not spiders, it's snakes or something. It's like everyone's got that animal that's just like
100%. 100%. So does that go back as far as you can remember, as like the frogs, or was there an event or something that may have triggered it?
I think I'd mostly blacked it out, but I think there was an event in my parents' minivan, and I don't remember much of the details. My mom was trying to retell this story, and I was probably 5 or 6, and I was there was a frog that matched the beige interior of the car, and it was like right above my head on the ceiling. And my sister started freaking out, and I couldn't get my seatbelt unbuckled to get out of the car, so I just started screaming and crying and going nuts. Eventually I got out of the car. I think my dad removed the frog with a baseball bat, not in a pleasant way, because he was in dad mode, like you fuck my kid, you're dead. I don't care whether you're a cockroach, a frog, or a human being. You scare my child, I'll end you.
For sure.
So I don't really remember that much, but I'm guessing it all goes back to that.
For sure, man. That's so crazy too, man. That's so crazy.
I was in Costa Rica for a bachelor party a week ago.
Nice. How was that?
Well, I don't remember any of it, for the record.
Nice. So you had fun.
Well, I may or may not remember things, but some of the lawyers that were there told me I do not recall is an acceptable answer to any question.
It's like The Hangover Part 4 or whatever with Jeff Macolino.
It definitely could have been a movie with what went on. But they have, only at nighttime, they have these big old frogs hopping around. We rented out this place that was basically like a bunch of condos. And they have these big old frogs. And one time I was running to my room to get something. I don't know why I was doing that, but I probably shouldn't try to remember. And there was a frog in the walkway. And I'm like, well, fuck that. I guess I'm not going to my room. And the frog just started running away. I'm like, oh, fuck. In America, the frogs jump at you. In Costa Rica, they run the fuck away.
Right. Yeah. Probably get cooked up for dinner or something.
Yeah, I guess. But I was talking to some woman. I opened the door to leave, and some woman was walking a dog down the stairs. And it was just weird timing. So I jumped back when I opened the door. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm not afraid of dogs, just frogs. She's like, frogs, but they're so small and harmless. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to say. She's like, well, they are extremely poisonous down here. I'm like,
No, they
Then
are. Are
everyone
they
should be
really?
afraid of frogs. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you?
No kidding, man. For real. Holy smokes. Poisonous frogs. Oh my.
Yeah. Apparently,
That's nuts, man.
yeah, they had iguanas just crawling around. See, those didn't bother me.
Right. Killer frogs, though. No thanks, man.
Frogs, nope.
I had my first run-in with a rattlesnake last summer. Me and my buddy, we went out to the what the hell is it called? Moshannon State Forest here in Pennsylvania. It's like central PA. I'm more like eastern PA. But we went out central PA and did some exploring, and we came across a rattlesnake, man. And that was pretty intense. That was the first time like I had a fear of snakes go through my body, you know. But we were kind of like exploring these abandoned bunkers. And I filmed like an adventure video. It's on my YouTube channel. But we were walking through these blueberry bushes, and I saw like a heap of broken up concrete and stuff. I said, yeah, let's go check out that rubble pile. Maybe there's something going on over there, you know. We walked through these blueberry bushes about knee high, and I got over to it. I jumped up on it, and I looked over the edge, and I was like, first thought that went through my head was, man, that's an interesting looking braided rope somebody left laying there. And then it hit me like after that thought instantly. I was like, oh my God, that's a freaking rattlesnake, dude. And the hairs went up on the back of my neck. I jumped back, and its little head came up, and it started doing this. And I was like, dude, just shaking from head to toe, you know. My adrenaline just was running so hard. It was intense.
Yeah, well, that's a reasonable,
You
again,
know?
if I went downstairs and there was an alligator in my kitchen, I would be petrified, just again for survival instinct.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that's right. You live in Florida, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Alligators break into people's houses all the time.
Dude, that would be crazy, man. Like in the middle of the night, you hear something going on. It's not a raccoon, freaking 10-foot alligator.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know how I would.
They're not really aggressive, though. I mean, are they? If they like,
not typically, unless they're hungry. Like that's the thing when I do love when people from out of state are here and you'll like walk by an alligator at a park or something and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, I don't get too close to it, but
right.
Starts running. I guess I've never had one. The only time I had a gator act aggressively is my friend and I were going to a college class and we looked in a retention ditch kind of thing. And there was a gator down there and I take out my old flip phone to take a picture of it, and it jumped up. I mean, it was far enough away that it couldn't reach me, but I almost dropped my phone in its mouth because it jumped up and snapped.
That would be spooky, man. I've seen how fast those things can like lunge and come out of the water. It is crazy, dude.
Yeah, they're quick. That's the thing. It's like just keep your distance, because if they decide to lunge at you, you're probably not going to avoid it.
Right. And now we have a lot of black bears up here. I don't know if you have black bears down there, but kind of the same situation, you know, come right up on your porch, not right where I live, maybe like an hour, 45 minutes from where I live though. And they'll come right up on people's porches, you know, and get into the feeders and, you know, cause problems, but not really be aggressive towards people as much, you know. So.
I've seen that they tend to be more defensive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not a threat to them,
it's not like a grizzly bear where they could run 40 miles an hour and chase you down, man, because that would be no good.
Yeah, that's a scary. You know, I was on a podcast and I gave the wrong answer to a question. Somebody was saying if a grizzly bear would fight a gorilla, who would win? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, a gorilla, they're smarter. They've got better, digits and everything.
Right.
I did research afterwards. It's like, no, the grizzly bear would murder a gorilla because
really
so much bigger.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
I guess if you got them to be the same size, like a small grizzly bear and a high-end gorilla. But yeah, there's a website that had all of the statistics about their weight and their strength and everything. I'm like, I was wrong.
I'll tell you what, man, if I was faced with two doors and I had to pick one to fight, I would pick the grizzly bear. You know, I feel like those gorillas, dude, I feel like they are super intimidating, man. Super intimidating.
Yeah, that would be a tough choice. I mean, if they're not like aggressive and angry, like, if they're not like sticking them, trying to get them antagonized.
Right.
Oof, I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I'd probably go with a bear, just thinking that I know bears are less, I think they're less confrontational and territorial. So if it's
Right.
just me and the bear, you're supposed to make yourself big and loud, right? And they'll just leave you alone. A
Which is
gorilla, you'd have to like do the opposite. You'd have to be like, I'm just a tiny baby. Don't
like
hurt me. I'm
submit.
not.
Yeah, you're right, dude. You'd have to like submit to the all power of, that's too funny, man.
Unless it's a gorilla that does sign language. Maybe you try to reason with. Not that I know sign language, but I would do my best.
Right. Yeah, me too. That's too funny. Dude, I want to ask you too, because I know you've done a lot of shows, a lot of podcast shows. How do you outline your shows? How do you go about that process? You just kind of like think of questions around the topic that your guest is an expert on, or
Yeah, I try to have a few. Actually, here's a good example. I did a podcast interview that will come out in 2 weeks, I think, with an astrophysicist.
Nice.
Like highly educated. This dude works with black matter and all that. Like he's like way above. So dark matter. I'm sorry. I don't even know the science word, but I wrote down his name.
Yeah.
And I just wrote background, dark matter, space travel, multiverse, Christianity. That's all I wrote for the entire thing beforehand. And I'm like, if I run into generally I just try to talk. And
right.
Like if I run into okay, I've got a segue to a new topic. We've kind of talked this one out. I'll glance at the sheet and be like, all right, well, so let's talk about space travel.
Oh, okay. I see.
So that's, I used to have like, 1,000 words next to me and like, sometimes Word documents in the background. I'm like, nah, less is more. Just
really
stay engaged in the conversation. And because you don't want to shut down a good conversation because you're trying to follow the outline. That's
right. Okay. That makes sense.
I've had a sheet like that with like 6 items and I've only gotten to 3 of them the whole podcast because I didn't want to change the topic to something else.
Right.
That's kind of my approach that I've morphed into is just kind of play it by ear and see.
That's kind of how I started out, but I'm finding like out that I need to have some sort of outline going into it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I just lose focus, man. I have a short attention span as it is. And I'll admit it that, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, how I navigate things. But yeah, I was kind of curious to hear from another podcaster, like how they do it,
I don't know if you can read that. There's yours. Your name, YouTube, and astrology. That's all I wrote down.
Oh, nice. Perfect, perfect, dude.
And I think we went for at least an hour and a half too. Just
yeah, we did go for quite a while. I know we covered a bunch of different topics, I think, that night.
Yeah, and that was all just
all over the place too, but
yeah, but it was all just following it is good to have a list like that, I found, because you never know your guest. If and I feel like I've gotten better at drawing people out, but even the episode after yours, my 50th episode, I had my little brother on, and he had never done a podcast before. He's a very interesting guy, but he's not used to even the Zoom conversation type stuff.
Right.
And the first hour, maybe 45 minutes, he was very short with his answers. He would give like 2 seconds between me stopping my question before he'd start talking because he didn't want to talk over me at all.
Right.
And he was drinking, so he started to loosen up and things got a lot better. But you never know when you're going to have a guest like that who's just like kind of not used to being on a podcast.
So for sure, man. I still get nervous.
Yes
dude.
or no.
Yeah, and I still get nervous. You know what I mean? Like doing my own show. You know what I mean? I think it's a big deal to kind of get over. It's a big hurdle to jump. Getting over, just being on camera, kind of talking, knowing the world is gonna, see what you're talking about. But I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's super rewarding. People start to realize, hey, this is super awesome. Kind of connecting with just everybody. So I think that's kind of why I do want to start from like people I know in a closer circle, you know what I mean? And work outwards. I still like to get some big guests on, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, it's an interesting balance. And
Mhm.
I've started to I've made more of a concerted effort really just the last couple months to try to be on more other people's podcasts, because I have, to be honest, I feel like there's no pressure anymore. Like, it's my podcast. It's like,
Yeah.
well, if this sucks, I'm the one who's paying for it, not the
Right.
guest. It doesn't matter to the guest. No one's going to listen to it. No one's going to be like, oh, I hate this guest, I'll never listen to him on a podcast again.
Right.
It's my podcast, and they'll never listen to again. They won't even remember the guest's name.
Right.
So I've been on some podcasts, and it's like, it's just like half the time I feel like I'm just going to play a character. Like, I'm just going to play into being Florida man and just, talk about doing drugs and getting drunk and all. Like, I'm just going to ride that character because it's entertaining, and they don't, nobody cares if what they're listening to on a podcast is totally real. Also, you can, from a comedy perspective, you can kind of test out your stories, and be like, if the host's laughing, if people like it, well, okay, then that's a good story. Let's craft it up a little bit differently for stand-up. But it can be a helpful writing tool, I would say.
For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah, it's you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah, it's all about having fun too, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I get told a lot of times that I'm like all over the place, and I am, man. I love it. You know what I mean? Because I love when my guests don't know what I'm doing on the show. 1 minute I'll post a 30-minute meditation sounds of nature campfire recording I do. The next minute I'm in the studio and I'm just rambling on about something, random. One day it's chemtrails, the next day it's just, what I did for Saturday afternoon sort of chat, and then I'll work on like adventure videos, where I'm out filming my adventures, editing and putting them up. So it's a little like combination of everything, you know what I mean? But I don't ever want it to lose like the fun aspect, and that's why I think great different shows are awesome, man, because there's so much diversity in seeing what other people are doing. I love supporting other people's shows, you know what I mean? I love listening to them. I love it, man. I freaking think it's so cool.
Yeah, it's the thing I take the most pride in is the after I stop recording, and the guests are like, dude, this is a lot of fun. And a lot of times they're like, I'll come back on and do your podcast again if you ever want me. And it's like, oh, okay, you actually did have a good time. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing is my dad listens to the podcast, but he is, I don't know, I think he just listened to your episode a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And that was episode 49, and I just put out episode 69.
Dude, awesome. Good for you, man.
So he's far behind, but it's funny when he's like, I liked this episode a lot. I like this episode. Didn't care for that episode much. I'm like, oh, really? That was my favorite episode, is the one I care about. But sometimes I realize, like, he was talking about one podcast and he's like, oh, that was interesting. You did a good job. And I'm like, that was the worst podcast I've ever done. And he's like, I couldn't tell a difference. I'm like, well, I woke up 10 minutes before the interview and I was chugging coffee, trying to wake up. So I had a miserable time recording it. Right. Maybe I did a good job disguising that.
Hey, if you do, you do, though. You know what I mean? That's good if you're, able to do that. I know a lot of people record something and it's like,
It's a weird, I really don't have a set schedule. I drive my kids to school and pick them up from school on the nights I have them, or the mornings after nights I've had them. But aside from that, it's like, I've had guests come on at 9 a.m. I've had guests come on at 11 p.m. at night.
Right.
So it's like,
whenever you can fit them in,
Yeah. So if I'm doing like a 4 o'clock thing, I'm like, well, I'm going to take a nap at 1:00, and that way I'll be fresh and everything like that. And
then they cancel on
sometimes,
you.
yeah, it's I'll set an alarm and I'll
Then you're all
snooze it.
thrown off for a freaking week.
Yeah, no, it's I need to either commit to a nap time or just give up on napping altogether.
For sure, dude.
There's no happy in between.
Right, for sure. So you're big into sports, man. I'm I'm not a big sports guy, but what is going on in the sports world, man? What's the current up to date? What's exciting, I guess.
Well, baseball's about to start.
Okay,
in a couple days.
Nice. Who's your baseball team?
Hockey is nearing the playoffs.
How are the Penguins doing? Do you know?
I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Wow, cool.
They're going to. They're not leading their division, but I'm a Lightning fan. We've won the last 2 Stanley Cups.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
The is that a Florida team
behind the Lightning?
That's
yeah.
Okay, cool, nice, man. I think of all the sports, hockey's probably my favorite.
I think it's now I think it's my second favorite now.
Okay.
To NFL football, and I clarify NFL over college. I don't appreciate.
You're not a college football guy.
Well, I enjoy it. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I love when I get in arguments with people about college versus pro football. I'm like, you want to watch the guys who like 1% of them are good enough to play in the next league. You want to watch their product as opposed to watching hey, I could start an all white basketball league and it's not going to be good.
Right.
Like you can't just be like, hey, I don't want to watch the best athletes. I want to watch the athletes at the level below, like 1% of whom are good enough to make it to the next level.
Right.
Like you just want an inferior talent. Is that what you're going for?
Now, let me ask you this. Is part of the reason people may gravitate towards college football over NFL because there's like more action? Isn't there like more action? Like they're more willing to take a chance doing something to prove themselves,
I don't know if I'd say more action, but I think what it is there's more personal connection with the teams. Like if you went to college, I went to USF.
Mm-hmm.
So, USF's a relatively smaller football school. We've had some good years, but when they're doing well, when they're ranked in the top 25 in the country, you get a little extra boost in your step, a little more pride because
for sure
you actually went there. That's your college. Sadly enough, like I was talking to somebody about it. They're like, your degree is worth more when your football team's winning.
Right.
It really is. Like if you 10 years ago, you said, hey, I went to the Clemson, and be like, oh, that's nice. Now, when they've been winning national championships, it'd be like, oh, Clemson, that's a good school.
Are you serious, dude?
There is
that's
just
so
that
crazy.
insurance. Yeah, and I think college basketball is the same way to an extent. It's like, especially when the smaller schools that no one's ever heard of, like, get far into the tournament, and
right.
It's like, oh, George Mason. Yeah, that's a good school. You don't know it's a good school. You know nothing about it except for they made the Final Four one year out of the blue. They were the Cinderella everyone was talking about.
That's too funny.
Yeah, it's a weird. There's some weird currency in your college actually performing well in sports.
That's so crazy.
It's stupid.
It is. Up here, it's obviously Penn State that everybody's all about. There's the main campus, but 30 minutes from my house, there's the another branch of Penn State. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of Penn State fans. I lost them a while ago with the whole. I was a Penn State fan for a long ass time. Then the Sandusky thing happened or whatever, and I was like, screw them. You know what I mean? Screw Penn State, dude. So
that's a good reason.
Yeah. It was a shame though, because they had really cool hats. You know what I mean? I really like their logo. I was really big on the logo, but yeah, man, no, that's good though. So, but like I said, though, I don't watch hockey. Hockey's probably my favorite sport, but I haven't watched the game all year. Know nothing about it.
There's a thing with hockey that I found. I think it has the most action. Like, I mean, they can play for 5-6 minutes straight with no whistles. Like,
right.
they'll they'll go, and they also have set commercial breaks, so you know when the commercials are if you watch it. There's 3
I didn't know
per
that.
period.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I like that because it's very predictable. Whereas in like football, it's like they'll just be like, "Hey, we're doing a commercial now."
It's getting ready to throw a Hail Mary, and all of a sudden you get a freaking commercial for.
Yeah, they're sporadic. You don't know. I remember watching one game, the whole first quarter, they didn't have a commercial, and I was like astonished. And they made up for it the last 3 quarters of the game.
Right.
But it was I think they were just trying it out to see. And it just so happened it was a Saints game, so I was watching it.
Oh man.
But hockey's got the only thing with hockey that I think loses people, like because my son, I'll let him watch because usually the playoffs are during the summer.
Yeah.
So I'll let him stay up and watch a game. He can't track the puck very well. He's getting better, but like I'm very good at tracking the puck on the TV.
Are you, dude?
So
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm the weirdo at I love to go out to bars to watch games, because the Lightning are a big deal down here. Like people will, the night of the games, they'll pack a wing house or a Buffalo Wild Wings or wherever and watch. And I'm the guy at the bar who screams to cheer for a goal a full second to 2 seconds before anyone else.
Right.
Because I see it. And everyone else, I can tell they're just that little bit behind. They don't see it they're not following it as well as I am.
You're the guy that yells at the TV.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so much fun to watch it out.
Right.
Because everyone then is cheering. When you're watching in your living room and you scream, there's a little part of you inside that's like,
dude, I have so many memories growing up. My stepdad yelling at the TV. His team's the Steelers, and yelling at the TV. You serious? Come on! He's getting all like angry. You know what I mean? And just mad at the football team. And dude, looking back on it, it's just it makes me laugh.
I am one of those people, and my daughter a couple of years ago, she's like, "Daddy, they can't hear you." I'm like, "Go the fuck to your room. Get out of here. You shut the fuck up."
That's too funny.
Yeah, I was not having it, but it was not a good time to mess with me.
And then your whole day is thrown off, But hey, man, if your team wins, though, dude,
it's a sickness where it's and really the Saints, my NFL team, are the ones that I have the most connection to. And my whole week is just shit if they lose.
Right.
It really, and it's like, I don't like that this affects me as much as it does, but it does.
Right.
And at this point, I don't think it's going to change. I mean, I'm better than when I was, I'm trying to remember what year it was. I was probably 17 or 18.
Sorry about that.
And, I threw up the morning of games, like a few weeks in a row. I was throwing up on Sunday, and I'm like, I don't know where that came from. It's like, you're throwing up every Sunday 2 hours before the Saints game. I think I know where. My dad was like, I'm pretty sure I know why.
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably not a good thing, is it?
I think if I remember correctly, the last time we talked, I brought up how like my favorite football team is the Falcons. I have a Matt Ryan jersey, and there was a discussion, I think, between the Saints. There was, I don't know, an altercation, I guess, between two teams a few years ago related to the Super Bowl, I think.
Oh yeah.
Something along those lines. But
oh yeah, the Saints will forever troll the Falcons over
man.
blowing the 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl.
Oh man.
That's that was
when I gave up on football.
Well, the funny thing, I got to give the Falcons credit. In the 2020 playoffs, the Saints were beating the Bears and scored a touchdown that, if they made the extra point, would have made it 28-3. And they reviewed the touchdown and said he was like an inch short, so it didn't count.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
So the Saints won that game, and the Falcons afterwards just put something like on Twitter. And I'm like, that's good. Well played. We would have just been forever like, ha ha.
That's too funny. Oh my goodness. Holy smokes.
Yeah. I do like, it's interesting. I do like when it seems like the players on the team hate the other team.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe it's just being a Saints fan. I feel like there's a lot of one of our players. Our last game was in Atlanta, and the Saints won, obviously. And one of our players walked up. There was a logo on the wall, and he just karate kicked it. And it's a great picture of him just kicking that stupid Falcon logo. And I'm like, he genuinely hates that team. He could play for them next. It's one of those weird things. It's like,
yeah,
he could play for them a year from now.
Yeah, that's so crazy. That's why, and that's why I like hockey, because you know what I mean. They get fights. They're still allowed to fight. Which I feel
like my son said, he's like, "Is that the only sport you're allowed to punch someone and not get kicked out of the game?" I'm like, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, there is UFC, but that's not. I don't think that would count, obviously. But
I could never get into UFC.
Yeah, man. I enjoy it from time to time. I like to watch it. You know what I mean? I like to watch people get their asses beat. It reminds me of this show growing up called Bully Beatdown. You ever watch that?
No, but I've heard of it.
It was like on MTV or something, and
yeah. I get, and I enjoy watching boxing, but boxing is kind of a dead sport because of the UFC.
Right.
And I enjoyed boxing more because I don't know, the worst thing you're going to see, other than Mike Tyson trying to eat someone's ear, the worst thing you're going to see is someone get knocked out.
Right.
Just take one they don't see to the chin, and they're out cold. And that actually does kind of bother me when I watch. I'm like, oh,
that's understandable. Yeah.
But yeah, UFC, you'll see like legs get snapped.
Oh yeah, it's hardcore,
get choked out and shit. And I'm like, I'd rather watch the WWE than watch UFC. Maybe I'm a pussy. I don't like the
modern day. It's modern day Gladiator, dude, more or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't like, again, unless it's like I know this is a bad guy, I don't like seeing people get knocked out.
Right.
Like something about it just, I'm like, oh,
freaks you out. Yeah.
This bothers me. Like I look at like videos where it shows someone just get popped, and it's like, well, I don't know what happened before this. They might have been the one who I root for in the fight. And you watch them get popped, and the way they land, I'm like, they could die from landing.
Yeah.
The punch
really
itself probably won't do much anything, but you land, you're passed out, you land on the ground, you can really get hurt. That's the part that's like, something about it rubs me.
You got to be born into it, man. I think that's what it boils down to. You really got to be born into being a fighter, dude. Yeah,
I tried boxing a few times, and I enjoyed
just the sport of it. You know what I mean? The workout.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, I haven't been punched in over a decade, so I probably wouldn't enjoy it anymore, but I enjoyed getting hit.
Yeah, just kind of tapping around. Yeah, dude. I think it would be fun. I'd love to do it myself, but I couldn't afford classes. I don't think around here,
Yeah, it's
that's kind of the big thing. But if I could meet like some old dude, you know what I mean, who's like retired and he has like a boxing ring in his garage, and he's looking to take somebody under his wing, I would be all about that, dude.
That's what, when I realized it was shady when it's like, yeah, we're doing matches, and I'm like, you're in someone's backyard.
Right.
I'm like, this seems sketchy.
Right. Weekend party, you know what I mean? There's
come to think of it, I'm 90% sure I was not wearing a mouthpiece.
Oh no. Well, you still have all your teeth, so that's good. You still have a good looking grill. So
I didn't. I never got knocked out.
That's good.
Not doing that. I've gotten knocked out otherwise, but never from being punched. Knock on wood.
I took some hard hits when I was in karate. I was in karate till about the age of 16, and I took some hard hits. I was in some tournaments and stuff, and there was a couple people I fought that I was genuinely scared of, man. And what was the name of the dojo I fought? It was King Cobra. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a ripoff of Cobra Kai.
I was gonna say it,
but they've been around forever, And I was fighting this guy from King Cobra, and he was tough, man. And I got hit, and like I just remember just wanting to go home. And like I've never been in a real fight though. I've never been like punched in the face or hit. I don't want to, man. I really don't want to.
It's been a buddy of mine was super drunk and I made a joke and he threw 4 punches at me and I dodged them all and we got kicked out of a bar. That was like 6 years ago. That was the last time that I got swung on.
That's pretty good reflexes if you dodged all 4 though, for real.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, what's funny is it's like, I think that's where the little bit of boxing training I had kind of kicked in, where it's like, if you're throwing haymakers and I see you throwing them, I can slip it real easily. Like it's not hard when you're doing this big overhand.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
some big drunk dude that doesn't know what he's doing, throwing his arm around.
Yeah. So that's kind of, but the other fights I got in were always over pretty quickly because the main, I'll tell you, the main guy I fought in college, I got in a handful of fights, probably less than 10. But the guy I fought more than anyone else was the short, roided out dude. Like the guy who's like 5'5", 5'3", and has arms thicker than my waist. But I'm always like, yeah, well, if I had those T-Rex arm, my muscles would look huge too, man. It's but they always, you know, it was the attitude. I don't know if it was the steroids, whether it was the whole, I just assume they're on steroids. I don't.
He needs confidence, man. You know, confidence could go a long ways.
They'd get up in my face, and by in my face, I mean like my chest. And
yeah,
they just start stuff. And I remember the last time I fought a guy like that, I literally grabbed him by his tank top, picked him up off the ground, and slammed him into what I thought was a wall, but it was actually like a garage door. So when I hit him into that thing, it echoed so loud, like it sounded like I just crushed this dude against this door. And I was literally holding him up, his feet were dangling, and I'm like, we're done now, right? And I'm like, that has to, I've never emasculated a man more than that.
Oh, man. Holy smokes.
But he couldn't do anything because he couldn't reach me.
Right. That's great, man. Oh, that's great.
But yeah, so my fights were typically over pretty quick because they couldn't get to me quicker than I could just fend them off.
Right. Dude,
I didn't go out seeking fights.
I think fights end too because of energy. You know how much energy it takes to, you know what I mean, get into an argument or a fight, dude. It's just so exhausting. It won't last very long. But
no, it's a fool's errand. It really is. It's
for sure, dude.
Now I say that, but do you remember when I'm trying to remember the circumstance, but this little dude, this was pre-pandemic, he like threw just went nuts at I want to say a bagel shop or something in New York. And he was just an angry, nasty dude who was screaming at everyone. I'm like, I'd love to kick that guy's ass. I would have so much fun.
That thought crosses my mind from time to time too with people, man. It's easy to get caught up in that, but
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I'm hoping the urge never actually takes over my body.
Right. Be like, same here.
Yeah, I know I could kick his ass, but I'm a bigger man.
That's right, dude. Bigger. That's right. That's how you got to look at it, man. Dude, it was a lot of fun talking to you. I got to get rolling. It is getting to be that time. But dude, I had a lot of fun, man. It was good catching up, dude. I'm glad that you are the podcast is going good and you're just keeping on pumping them out, dude. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep doing it as long as people keep listening.
Heck yeah, man.
Even if not, I'll probably keep doing it.
Same here, man. Same here. We should definitely stay in touch though, man. And collaborate a little bit here and there. And
yeah, 100%.
Sweet, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, yeah, dude. Enjoy your night, man, and enjoy your week.
All right, you too. Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, we'll see you later.